Today we're going to be talking about a complete rip-off, complete knockoff, a literal clone amplifier from Orsefon. Now this amplifier is supposed to be cloning a Mcintosh MC275. The Orsefon retails for $1,939 on Alibaba.com, plus about $65 shipping, whereas the Mcintosh MC275 Mark VI retails for approximately $7,500 US. A funny story to show you how the audio world works. A couple years ago, I posted on my Facebook page and my YouTube community post page to ask if anybody happens to own this Orsefon clone amplifier, because I wanted to test it out and see how good it really is. I didn't get any bites. Nobody had one that they would be willing to loan me to review, and I said, okay. Well, a few months ago, I got a message from one of my Patreon members who said, hey, there's this guy on Reddit who's looking to purchase this clone amplifier, and he wants to know if anybody will review it. I threw my hat in the ring, and a few weeks later, this showed up at my doorstep. So I want to give a quick shout out to the gentleman who loaned me this amplifier. It was drop shipped directly from Alibaba.com, but I will say that the packaging that it showed up in was pretty dang stout. It came in a cardboard box, but inside that cardboard box was a flight case, and that flight case encompassed this bad boy. Now, the weight on this one is approximately 80 pounds. It's kind of in that ballpark, whereas the weight for the Mcintosh is approximately 68. So let's just say it's 70 pounds. Luckily, I had some friends in town who could help me out by carrying this thing upstairs, because Lord knows with my bad back, I really did not want to lug this thing all the way up the stairs. I mean, I've been lugging it up and down the stairs since then, but at least for one day, it saved me some trouble.
I'm doing a pretty good job, though.
You're doing a great job.
I'm making sure in case, Jake falls backwards, I can catch him.
Look, everybody, I've got Zach De La Roca at my house. He grew his dreads back out.
I'm gonna do what you tell me.
You might look at these and think, well, they don't quite look the same, so why are you saying that they're a clone? Well, I'll show you why. Because on the website where you can purchase this directly from the manufacturer, it says flagship version clone MC275. The Orsefon, like the MC275, is rated for 2 by 75 watts, so stereo channels, 75 watts a pop. The one difference in the specs is that the Orsefon says it was only designed to carry 4, 8, and 16 ohm loads, whereas the Mcintosh is down to 2, 4, and 8 ohm loads. I want to address something before I kick off the review portion of this, and that is, what are the ethics of me reviewing a literal clone, a knockoff product from overseas? And I got to be honest, I struggled with, do I want to review this or not? In my reviewing, is that going to be hyping up the product? I talked to some friends, and I even talked to the same guys you just saw carrying this amplifier up the stairs, and they're disconnected from audio, okay? So their input was very similar to other friends who said, yeah, review it, talk about it, be honest about it, and if it's good, then let the people decide. And if it's not, then they know what they get when they buy a clone or a knockoff amplifier. In terms of build quality, the Mcintosh is built like you would expect it to be built for $7,500. Does the Orsefon lose out in build quality, or is it somewhere else, and that's why you're getting it for so much cheaper? Let's break this down. As far as connections go, you've pretty much got the same set. You've got unbalanced RCA input, and you've got balanced XLR inputs for the Mcintosh. And you've got the same thing for the Orsefon, except the Orsefon also has an additional set of RCA inputs. And on the front, it's got a knob that allows you to select different sources between CD, auxiliary, and balanced. When using auxiliary mode, this volume knob controls the output level. If an extra set of RCA inputs is important to you, then here you go. The Mcintosh, unlike the Orsefon, has 12-volt remote trigger input, so you can trigger this to turn on via some other source. As I said, the Mcintosh, at least to me, wins out in overall build quality, and I'm going to explain to you why that is. So let me get this off the table. I'll come right back. Build quality on the Orsefon. Let me talk to you about a few things that I found troublesome. First of all, this volume knob. This volume knob's good. I don't have any issues with the volume knob. It doesn't like slide around or anything like that in position. All good. But when you go to the source selection knob, the source selection knob wobbles. Like it just wobbles in place. And that's kind of, I don't know, I don't really like that. The other thing about this is that the cage is mounted by just some little standoffs right here and right there. Just some little standoffs. The Mcintosh, the real one, has screws. So you've actually got to use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the cage. Now, this next thing is maybe a nitpick, but to me, it really shows product quality and quality control issues, right? The tubes that came with this. First of all, these tubes fit into a socket. And this is the tube. The thing is that as far as I can tell, the pattern for the sockets are all reasonably close. But when you put the tubes, wiggle, 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 when you put the tubes in place, the writing does not line up on the front of these tubes, which indicates one of two things. Either the sockets are misaligned throughout the whole unit, or the silk screening on the tubes itself are misaligned. Notice that the silk screening for these three all face toward the front, but this one faces toward the other direction. Another thing about this amplifier that screams just really crappy quality control is the silk screening for the tube number or the tube type. As you work your way across from the left to the right, you can see that the lettering is really, it's like it's falling apart. Now, this is how this amplifier showed up. As you get toward the end, that A and that 7 are starting to be scratched out. Another thing that screams QC issues, the top of the transformers. Now, the Mcintosh looks like it has like maybe a metal plate inlaid inside the top of the transformer like you see in this video. But with the Orsefon, what you have are stickers of some sort, and actually the stickers are peeling off, as you can see. But you know, maybe that's where the savings is. Maybe they sound the same, maybe the measurements are the same, maybe the power's what it needs to be, and you just save a boatload of money because this thing is not, the QC really sucks on it, maybe? So let's talk about that. Okay, so now that we've got an idea of the overall build quality, we might think, well, obviously that's where the cost was cut, and that's how you're able to get this clone amplifier for a third or a fourth of the price of the real amplifier. But then you have to ask yourself, how does it sound? Like, that's the most important thing. And then also, do the measurements back up what the manufacturer says the amplifier is capable of? In order to answer the first question, how does it sound? You want to compare it to the original amplifier, or maybe you want to compare it to another amplifier. I don't know. But for me, I wanted to compare it to the real Mcintosh amplifier. And in order to do that, you really have to do blind ABX testing. How do you do blind ABX testing? Well, that's an entirely different topic, but essentially what that boils down to is you have no idea which thing is playing, and you write down, hey, I think it's this one, I think it's this one, and then you look at the results and you find out, yep, you either got it 100% right, or it might as well just been a guess. For you to be able to do that is quite convoluted, but there is a box out there like this one called the Van Alstyne ABX Comparator Box. Now, this is no longer available, so you're going to have to pick it up on the used market, and good luck finding one there. But what this allows me to do is to hook up different amplifiers or speakers, level match even within this box, and then switch back and forth, make sure everything looks good, and then enter the blind ABX testing mode. So you can see in this video how the setup was. I used a Eversolo Z10 DAC, these two amplifiers, and then this ABX box for my testing. And even though it might not be good enough for some people, I used Kimber cable wiring, speaker wire, RCA wiring, and then I have some for XLR as well. What were the differences that I heard? Well, in the case of the Radiant Acoustics Clarity 66, which you see here, what I heard was the high frequency drop with the Orsefon. The Orsefon just seemed like it was missing higher frequency treble. Now that brings me to the data. If you look at the data, when I measured the frequency response connected to the Radiant Acoustic 66, you see this. The blue line is the Mcintosh and the orange line is the Orsefon. Now this is kind of, it's a big scale. It makes everything look not too bad, but even still, you can see that there's a difference in the higher frequency with the Orsefon rolling off. Now the reason for this is because the Orsefon has higher output impedance. And basically what that means is an amplifier with high output impedance is going to change response based on the load that it's driving. This is covered in an entire video I have. If you want to check in the description box below, it'll be linked down there. This is what the thumbnail looks like. I encourage you to go watch that video. So yes, you can have cases where amplifiers do sound different. Now, luckily, this really only impacts certain type of amplifiers, like older Class D designs were load dependent. And then set amplifiers, single-ended triode amplifiers, are also load dependent. But you'll see it as well in a lot of tube amplifiers just in general, where they are load dependent. The Mcintosh MC275 is not really load dependent, so it would be load invariant to some degree, but the Orsefon seems to be more load dependent. Once I zoom into this data, you get a better feel for where the deviation is and how significant it can be. So I'm going to zoom into about a 7 decibel window here, which is super tight. It's going to exaggerate some of these differences, but it's necessary to see for some of the cases where there is a larger difference. If you look at 200 hertz, the Orsefon's about 0.2 decibels below the Mcintosh. If you go to the mid-range between about 700, 600 hertz to about 1.2 kilohertz, they're well matched in this region. When you go above that, you can see that there's deviation more and more. So if you go up to about 6K, there's about 12.1 to 11.8. That's about 0.3 decibels. Not a lot. Possibly you could hear that, but you know, on its own without ABXing really fast back and forth, probably not going to pick up on that. But if we go and look at the higher frequencies, at 10K, you've got about 13.4, and then you've got about 12.2. So you've got about 1.2 decibel difference at 10 kilohertz, where the Orsefon is lower in amplitude than the Mcintosh. That certainly jives with what I heard. Now, this is the impact of the radiant acoustics on these amplifiers. What happens if I tried a different pair of speakers? Well, I did that. I took these cheap little, I think they're $70 or something on Amazon, Rio One. I can't even pronounce the name yet. I'm still working on that. Definitely different high frequency energy. So does that track to measurements? Well, let's see. Sure enough, it does. So there is about 0.2 decibels delta overall between these two speakers. Now, I didn't change the gain or anything like that between the previous speakers and these. I just left it the same. But if you go and look, you're seeing the same trends. For the most part, they're pretty well aligned to the mid-range. And then when you get to 10K, there's 13 and then 12. So there's 1 decibel of difference at 10 kilohertz with this little cheap speaker. The Orsefon is more load dependent. So it's going to change more because it has a higher output impedance. Now, how do I know that? Well, I'll also test it for that too. So let's compare the Mcintosh output impedance to the Orsefon output impedance. The Mcintosh in blue is at about 0.2 ohm. That's low, especially low for a tube amplifier. That means that you should be able to hook up the Mcintosh to pretty much any speaker and it won't change the behavior of that speaker. If you hook up the Orsefon in orange, you can see that overall the output impedance is shifted to about 0.4, which that on its own is, you know, that's okay. But what you'll also notice is that there's variations of the output impedance. And as you go higher in frequency, you start ramping up the output impedance to about 0.6 ohms. This right here, this increasing output impedance compared to the Mcintosh's flat output impedance is the reason why the high frequency in all the speakers that I listened to rolled off when I was listening to them with the Orsefon compared to the Mcintosh. So now let's talk about output power. Power is in watts down on the x-axis, and distortion is on the y-axis in percentage. The Mcintosh is going to be down here. I measured it at 4 ohm and 8 ohm left and right channels. These amplifiers are rated at power at 1% distortion. But I'm going to note one thing. Most of the time when you're talking about rating an amplifier's distortion, you're going to talk about the point at which it starts to clip. In this case of the Mcintosh, it's around 50 watts and it's down below 0.1% THD. At 1% THD, you are pretty much about 80 watts or so for both the 4 ohm and the 8 ohm left and right channels. Now, the Orsefon is an interesting one. The Orsefon's measurements for 8 ohm and 4 ohm left and right channel is this section right up here. Notice how much higher in distortion it already is compared to the Mcintosh. The Mcintosh is about 0.1 at 10 watts. The Orsefon is already at 1% at 10 watts. At their 75 watts rated power, which is right in this region right here, for the left channels, you're at 10% THD. And then for the right channels, you're just above 1%. So we'll say that's about 2% THD. The Mcintosh clearly wins in terms of distortion. And we're back at square one, both of these amplifiers on my desk. This has been a long, laborious task to properly analyze both of these and listen and do it justice so I could give you my final opinion. Now, this is my opinion. What I'm about to say is just my opinion. This amplifier is cool. Actually, it runs really hot. But this amplifier is cool because it has tubes and it makes power. And about 50 watts before it hits 1% THD. Okay, at 75 watts where it claims its rated power is, that's pretty high distortion. Even with the lowest channel in distortion, it's still 2% THD. Whereas the Mcintosh does 75 watts at 1%, so it legitimately makes its rated power. The overall distortion for the Orsefon is certainly higher. Subjectively, this is going to be a toss-up. And honestly, the easy answer is go with the Mcintosh because it has low output impedance and is less load variant, which means it doesn't really matter what speaker you put onto this amplifier. The amplifier is not going to change its frequency response. Whereas this one will certainly change the frequency response and it's going to drop the high frequency down. In some cases, a decibel to 2 decibels, depending on the higher frequency band that you're talking about and the speaker combination. There's also minor deviations in the mid-range with the Orsefon. Build quality, we already know the Orsefon definitely has some issues. Silk screening, knobs, the stickering on the top with the transformers. I don't really care for the binding posts on the back. The Mcintosh wins absolutely hands down. But the Orsefon's like a quarter to a third of the price. And when you're talking about the price, they're so far apart that it's really not even, I don't know how I can honestly say that somebody who is looking at this is also looking at this. 1900, 7500. They're so far apart. So it's hard for me to say, save up your money and get the Mcintosh when I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, it does all right. You know, like it could certainly be worse. But I gotta be honest. I gotta think that there's better tube amplifiers here in the States that maybe cost about the same price as this. I feel kind of funky when I see somebody selling something that is literally called a clone, which is what is on the Alibaba website. That doesn't sit well with me and is also part of the reason why I had some reservations about even doing this review. But at the end of the day, I was curious. I think you all might be curious as well. I hope you found this review interesting and informative. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please check the comment section below. If you don't mind, take the time to leave a thumbs up and subscribe and all that cool stuff. If you'd like to support what I'm doing, you can do so one of two main ways. One is join me at patreon.com and I'll have some additional data on my Patreon page for this amplifier. And then you can also use any of my generic affiliate links to Amazon or Crutchfield or Best Buy or Audio Advice or Target. They're in the comment section below. Just go down there and click one of those links and go buy whatever it is that you need to buy from that storefront. I'll earn a small commission and it doesn't cost you anything extra. And I really appreciate it. And with that, I am finally freaking done. I have done about 10 takes of this review. At one point, I cut the power to the camera and lost all the memory on the SD card. And I've got a major headache. I don't even want to try to think about editing this thing, but I will. So anyway, I will talk to y'all later. Take care.